Well, it's been just over 5 weeks since the Canadian men's soccer team staged its one-game walkout in Vancouver. And while there is still no agreement in place as to how the players will be compensated for their World Cup participation, some of the major issues are now coming to light after weeks of demands for transparency.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money,
Dollar, dollar.
All right, so we're back here with Issei Nakajima-Farhan, Canadian legend here, and grateful for your time as usual. And this probably won't be as long as normal, but we're going to hit some topics that's been going around in the soccer world in Canada, anyways. And just wanted your opinion on some things.
Sorry, Dave. Start again. That was me, my bad. I'm sure you guys heard my stuff in the background, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
that's true.
Start again.
I can't do that.
Yeah. You do it again, bro.
Bro, five broke. We ain't got it. Bro, five broke. We ain't got it.
All right, take number 11, just like your jersey. So we're back here with Issei Nakajima-Farhan, and of course, this will be a shorter video, of course. I just wanted to get your opinion on some things. As a Canadian legend playing for many, many years for the national team. Of course, it's a big year for us, seeing that we have qualified for the World Cup. And our previous interviews, I think this was right before we qualified, and we were speaking about your experiences, obviously, in your career, but also on the national team. And here we are now, we've qualified, but there's some drama in the land. And as an insider, as you are, part of one half of the player union for the CPL. These things these issues that we have in the Canadian national team will eventually trickle down to you and your involvement, as well as the friends that you have still on the national team. So I wanted to kind of get your opinion. Don't give me any information that you're not supposed to, but I wanted your opinion on the developments that have happened over the last couple of weeks. Now, we've discussed our national team experiences and stuff. And I think until this event happened concerning the national team and the boycott and all that, and needing or wanting to be, compensated rightly, I think most people would not have listened to our stories, or at least understood. But now that this has become mainstream, I think it's garnered more attention. So how do you feel about this now finally coming to the forefront of how national team players are not only compensated, but treated over the years, and the management of the national team in general?
The guys on the national team right now, I think the 4 or 5 guys are speaking on behalf of the 50 guys that's on the roster and trying to get what's best for the players. Player careers are short. They've accomplished big things within the group already. And they should be, it's a short career. So you got to try and make the most of it. And also, we've been in that situation before. And we've had these talks. I wasn't one of the 5 guys who were trying to negotiate on behalf of the guys. But we had big dogs back then. We had Stalteri, De Guzman, who else? Kevin McKenna, Richard Stalteri,
Rob Friend.
These guys were all, Rob Friend. Obviously Patrice too. And Ian Hume, Atiba. I can just keep going on with the guys who spent most of their careers and big careers in Europe. So these guys were all talking on our behalf, and we didn't get anything. So we are now trying the same thing, and also not getting, we never did boycott a game. We never had that kind of balls. But, I remember doing some trainings, and nothing changed. So, and I think all the other countries uses their player union, and which we don't have, and which we are now establishing. But, now these guys think they've got the upper hand, but it's like trying to argue with the coach. The players are never bigger than the coach. You know that. It doesn't have to be a national team. Every team, you might have a superstar on the team, but there's no way you're bigger than the club. And the same rule applies. So these guys can say all they want, but doing it this way, it's just a vicious cycle that's going on and on and on. That's
Yeah, I
why
think.
this is why me and Marcel wanted to start a players union from way before, because we've never done it properly, and now we're finally doing it properly. We have so many people on board, and the right lawyers involved, and it can only be. I mean, if they don't want it now, I'm not quite sure how it has been for the past 2-3 weeks, but now I'm pretty sure if it's not us taking the lead to try and help these guys get the right travel, the right compensation, the right bonuses, it's just going to be an experience that's not going to be as memorable as it could be. So that's why we're here. But, you know, there's always another World Cup, but the players are always going to change. There's plenty of players out there. So if these guys are serious, I'm not trying to market ourselves, but, you know, Players Union is going to stick around for forever now. So we're always going to be there. Whether they come on board with us now or later, it's just a matter of time. Every other country is using Players Union to represent national team, to represent the league, the domestic players, and the foreigners. So I didn't realize how important it was until you have a problem, right? Because you have an agent that made the move. You have, you know, you're so focused on your own performance and your own fitness and your own health that you're not worrying about what could come. And, you know, with me being involved with 14 professional clubs, I've made so many moves, and also, 4 or 5 countries that I was part of different players union to see how they operate. And of course, in the beginning, when I was young, I was like, no, I don't need this. Sorry, I'm not paying the members fee. But they still came out and still helped me. And then I realized how important they were, because, you know, collective voice is way bigger than just me trying to knock on the sports director's door saying, yeah, you know, with whatever complaint that I got. So players unions are huge, or not. I hope they get it. I really do. But either way, players union will be there for the later stage. Either way, I want the guys to have a successful run at this thing that we've been chasing for so long.
Yeah. You know, I think what people fail to realize, it was mentioned in the article, is that the tremendous sacrifice that Canadians have been making on behalf of the national team concerning their club and their personal life, because your club team is your personal life, right? That's your personal income. And leaving your team, your club, to go represent your national team, especially when your national team is ranked like 128 or 90 or, you know, whatever it was, 138 or whatever it was. First of all, your club is like, well, why are you going? Like, they're not good. We're more important, and we're paying your salary. And that's always an argument, no matter what national team you play for, but especially when you play for one that has been bad for so long. And when you leave as a starter, you're leaving your position open for someone to fill, because they need someone to play your position. And as a national team player for years, when you leave and go to your Canadian national team, you're sacrificing your spot on your team that you need to regain when you come back, depending on what level you're at. And sometimes not even, right? Like sometimes it doesn't matter what level you're at. And sometimes even the higher the level, the more chances that you'll lose your spot. And that was because we love our country. That's because we always wanted Canada to do better. We dreamt of, of success, because our country itself is so beautiful and so nice. We wanted to represent that on the field. The diversity of all of our players and stuff like that. We always wanted that to represent Canada, and so we sacrificed on behalf of Canada. I think what's so scary and what's so frustrating about this process is that it's 2022. The last time I played for the national team was in 2008. And there's people that played before that. I think you started, 2005 or something like this, or 6. And
6, yeah.
Yeah, and this issue is, even though we've made the World Cup, so it's not even a matter of success. This is an issue of business off the field. And now they're asking for the players to sacrifice the game, and not just for, the short term, but until 2037, if they extend this contract with these And that means that this whole national team crew would never get compensated the way that they should, right? And like a whole new generation would have to come, and they would have to make the World Cup on top of that, which we haven't done since '86. So I think that's what people need to realize, that they're asking for us to sacrifice a game when we've been sacrificing.
Yeah, true. I mean, CSB owning the Canadian rights national team, it's unheard of, I believe, because I've asked other players' unions if their national team is owned by the league. It's always a two different entity. So, but yeah, you're right. That conversation was never held with the 50 guys that's on the roster. But again, this is not players. They're not worried about this. Why would you be? No player has a secure spot on the national team because there's no contract, right? So with a league club level, you have 2 years, 4 years, whatever that you signed. Technically, that's under the FIFA sanctioned law, that's your contract, and it's up to you guys to talk it up, whatever. So why would they talk to the players regarding this? So they don't have to. Why should they? They pick and choose whatever players they believe is the strongest team that Canada has to offer. So yeah, the players have no say in this. But the players' union, who we would potentially represent all Canadians, would have a proper say for guys. Even the teenagers right now, they're going to be, they don't know if they're going to get ever called up. But those guys who will get called up will be in that spot and will be complaining later, thinking, how come the guys before never complained? Yeah, we all complained before, but did it ever change anything? No, that's what we're trying to do it differently, how it's supposed to be. And if you're going to get called in national team, yeah, I understand all the sacrifices every player does, but you never say no to the national team because it's such a big honor, like every time you sing the national anthem with that flag is in slow motion for that 15-20 seconds. It feels amazing, and no player should say no to that, even if you have a niggling injury. You're thinking, okay, if I play this game, I could be sacrificed for the game, maybe the big derby game going back. That's the story that my brother went through. He chose the national team over his club level, who were playing a big cup game against FC Copenhagen at the time, and he was benched. And then the other guy played well, and then he was benched, and his career went the wrong way, considering he was at his peak. He just called, with the Olympic team, I think at that time. He chose the Olympic team over the big derby game. FC Copenhagen game. So I know that's one thing he regrets in his career. Paris is my brother. And yeah, his career went the wrong way. So you do always have to think of the options, but nobody's going to choose club level unless it's Champions League final. But still, even the big guys, the clubs didn't want you to go because sometimes the games were on a terrible field or even on an AstroTurf that these clubs would say, what, you're doing 2 trainings on an AstroTurf and then a game? No, you're not spending 3 days on AstroTurf. We won't let you go, or we don't want you to go, because they can't say no. They can't make that decision for you.
Right.
It's not their place. But the player has to make that decision, and it could ruin your relationship with the coach. It could not, but that you're going to be jet lagged. You are open to injuries, but you're not going to say no. You rather put up a fight than just take the easy way out. You won't be in this spot to be getting called in for the national team. So I don't think fans understand. They think, successful players, yeah, but it's a long journey to get to that point, and a lot of choices had to be made, sacrifices. I feel for the guys that's there. They're trying their best to get their way, but I hate to say it, it's not gonna. I don't see it happening. Because it's just the same, like I said before, it's the same thing. You're never bigger than the club, and there's no way you're bigger than the national team, no matter what big boys you have right now.
There's a lot of money on the line, concerning obviously the next World Cup and how we perform, and everybody gains from a good performance from the national team, and to see that this would be something that would be a distraction, is disappointing, right? Because all these players want to play. None of them wanted to miss a game, a training at all. But they know that this is the only time. What other time would we have ever had, a chance to do to make a difference? Can you name a couple? I don't want to put you on the spot, but just name a couple of the benefits of being part of a player union.
Well, the biggest one is the collective voice. Once you have a I'm living in Barcelona, where there's I wouldn't say a riot, but there's a big collective, whatever, independence or whatever problem, almost every 2 weeks.
We are a territory with a strong national personality. We need our independence.
There's a whole bunch of people complaining, and the thing is, it's funny. Things do change. Right. Independence, not so much, but everything else, how they keep changing the rules, and then everybody complaining about the mask, and everybody was complaining about the mask, saying, and the rules do change and do favor you when half the city is complaining. If it was 2 people or say 50 people complaining, they're not going to do anything. So that's the one big benefit, and that also comes with sponsors. Sponsors for the players. CPL isn't great with the booth deals. Isn't great for a lot of young players going through. I mean, I was a young player in Japan where I had a few restaurants that would help me eat the right food. So it was free for me, for all the young guys, under 22s, under 22-year-olds. We had the healthiest meal 3 times a day where we go.
Wow.
Well, we don't have that system in place. I know other countries, Denmark had the same thing, Cyprus, Australia, not with the food, but there's a lot of benefits for younger players. So they understand what it means to be a professional, what it means to do your taxes properly, what it means to... Because I did hear once, I think it was Julian telling me this, saying 70% of players go bankrupt after retirement, or maybe while playing get injured because idiots buy boats and expensive cars, and this is a boat, by the way.
Surprise party for Ichi. Ichi.
Oh, my brother.
So I haven't gone bankrupt yet. So I can tell Julie, yo man, I'm in that 30%. But so you got to be smart with your money, you got to be smart with your body, and we don't have any retirement packages for players in Canada, not like other countries where they have whatever coaching license, badges, education all lined up. We don't have that. What if you're career-ending injury? We don't have that. But if we have everybody collectively approaching certain companies, sponsors are going to jump on board. So, and that comes with marketing, and that comes with bonuses for players. So there's many things.
There's another thing too. The collective bargaining, right? Like there's players that are 32 that's dropping out, right, of the Canadian Premier League because they can't survive off of $2,000. Like, I don't think that people actually know how much these guys are actually getting paid. Like, a lot of them aren't getting paid a lot at all. I mean, they'd rather just get a job, right? So we also don't have, when you go to Europe and things don't go well, new coach comes in, you get dropped. You can't come back here, play, show yourself, and then go back. You can't raise a family at all, even if you have a partner with you, on the salaries that these Canadian Premier League players are getting paid. And I understand that it's a new league and that, but there's got to be ways in which, if you force the issue that the salaries would go up in some way, shape, or form. And the FIFA put out, I think it was the history of football, and they were interviewing Ronaldo, the Brazilian, and he said 75% to 70%, 70% to 75% of players make basically like minimum wage in football. Like they don't make like what he made, obviously, right? And so what you're saying is true. Like it's very important that, you know, for your own benefit and for the benefit of others that are coming behind you, right? That you protect the players, because ultimately it is a business, and owners will always take as much as they can unless you force them to share.
Yeah, and football is the biggest business, right? Yeah, globally. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it is a new business, so you can't be throwing money around at all the players. But so I do get where they're coming from. So it is a process, you know. Like even football back in the day in Europe, you know, the salaries weren't all that. You know, it just gets bigger and bigger, and somebody signs the world record signing, and then the following year 2 guys sign for that amount, and obviously it just gets bigger and bigger.
Zinedine Zidane became the first $60 million man when he was transferred from Juventus to Real Madrid. 4 years earlier, Ronaldo had caused a sensation with his record $30 million transfer. By the time of Zidane's transfer to Real, the players in the French and Brazilian squads at France '98 had been involved in transfer deals worth over $750 million.
And the unions follow, you know, so to protect their domestic players and not just, you know, all the foreigners making crazy money. So, so I understand. Yeah. So, I mean, I feel for the CSB, I feel for the CPL, trying to do the best they can to create a league, because if we all complain too much, it's just going to shut down, and none of us want that. We've always wanted a proper league, so this is what they're doing, and I'm glad that they're finally doing it. But it is a process, and they need certain voices to stand up and say, okay, you know, money is being generated, you know, so it's time to raise the bar in certain areas. And actually, because I mean, at the end of the day, the majority of the players right now in CPL have no experience. They're coming with, you know, straight out of university, youth players, and that's the majority of players. So how can you call it a professional league when majority of them haven't been a professional? But that's a process, right? There's, you know, you can only attract professionals if there's good money, and there isn't good money, and that's the baseline. So again, it's going to be a different story in 3 to 5 years. I think it'll be a very good league. It's the right. I want to say the right people with the right interests are steering the ship. But I don't know. I want to believe that. I want to believe that.
Is there a partnership between like the players' union and the ownership of the league? Like in terms of, do you guys come to sit down and talk and say, okay, guys, like this is how we can better promote our league?
About a year ago. Yeah. No, about a year ago, our lawyer and our one of the guys that's working for us called Dan, he's sent letters, and I believe at this moment in time, with the information that I have, I believe it's still not on paper, and it's just like, yeah, you know, it's just one of those things. It's just like, it's like what the Spanish would like call it mañana. Everything's mañana, except for with this situation, obviously, it's like, no, you know, it just kind of gets brushed aside. But we all know that eventually it's just going to happen. Like all players' unions, they all said the same thing. You know, the league doesn't want you. The league doesn't want you. Nobody wants you. Nobody wants you. And it will be like that until it comes to a point where, all right, we need to work together here because you pretty much have everybody's signatures. We have, I think, 70-80% of the players, and all you need is 51% to even be established as a players' union. So, you know, we are technically already there. But I definitely want to, you know, rather than focus on trying to be a partnership, you know, I've been telling our guy Dan and our group of players' union board members that, you know, we really need to start focusing on, you know, getting the benefits for the players. And I mean, even though it's only been 4 years of this league, it's just so many players retiring at a young age, like you said. And it's kind of depressing because these guys are retiring way younger than me, and, you know, like 28, 29 retiring because they choose a better, you know, they have to look after their family and football is not paying for it. So you are kind of pressured into that corner. You know, are you going to keep chasing the dream, or you're going to have to say you're going to pack it up? But every older player would say, if you have one more year in you, you got to do it. But if the bank isn't supporting you, then you got to make sacrifices. So there's like one of the things in the Japanese Players Union is that I thought it was genius. They were doing this when I was a kid. So they set up this thing for 3-4 days for all young players to be educated to be a professional footballer. So there's like 3 signings per team at that time of the young boys. They all get together at this at the JFA, which is the Japanese Football Association, whatever training ground. And you spend 3-4 days, you get to know the other guys, and you're educated to how to be a professional. And just because you've made it into that level, these guys are coming in thinking that they've made it. Yeah, technically you've made it, but then they smack you with this information saying, in Japan, which is way smaller than Canada, saying there's 400,000 players who dream to be a footballer that year. Let's say, 16, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds. And one will make it. And out of all the professional footballers, the numbers back then was like, I can't remember how many teams there were. But say there was like, I don't know, like, I can't remember. Say 5,000 professionals in Japan, J1, J2, J3. Well, there's only one guy that goes to Europe, and that time was Nakata. So you got to think, like, just because you're a pro doesn't mean anything. And the average player that is only three years, because there's so many players that go pro, and then that's it. They can't find any more contracts.
Countless kids dream of becoming pro footballers, and these guys here actually made it. But unlike most pros who spend their preseason vying for a spot in the starting 11, these players are fighting for their very footballing futures. They're currently without clubs, meaning unemployed in the football world. Precarity and perseverance in the workplace are things we all know about. I'm not even 30 and I've already got a couple global economic downturns under my belt. But we don't usually associate all that with pro footballers. I went to a camp for unemployed players for a glimpse at the other side of the pro life.
Here in Duisburg, the VDV, which is the German Players Union, has organized a camp for out-of-contract footballers. The idea is to help them get fit and hopefully find a new club. For many, it's a make or break moment in their career.
All the players are out of contract. They all come back to that JFA association, where they stay and they train and stay fit in, just in case some, agents will give you some good news or something. But they also set up some games. So it's like a training game, and everybody's an ex-pro. You have to be an ex-pro to be at this facility. And all the coaches show up from every club and agents. So it's a good way to network, and it's a really good way to find your next step. Because every club wants to know, well, is he fit? He hasn't played any games. He hasn't even been on the bench. So these questions are all answered on this 1 week. This is a great example of what Players Union can do with the amount of the people that's on board, the money that's generated into the pot. This is the things that we can do to look after our 'cause how many players do you know that were super talented but just didn't have the luck or didn't have the network or just didn't know what to do, because you're getting cut. All right, great. Now what? I gotta look for a club. Who do I talk to? I'm asking a couple of guys for their agents. Okay, they're busy with the guys that's on, already doing well. Crap, is this the end of the line for me? How many guys do you know like that? And right now we don't have a system. Okay, it would be nice for these Canadian guys playing in Europe, no more club. All right, you can come back to Canada, find a team because you're an experienced player. But sorry, our salaries are low and we're mainly focused on young players. Okay, well, I mean, that kind of sounds like my situation also. Can't find a team at 35 in Europe. Fair enough. I come back and I'm told that you can only play the last 5 minutes because we need more young players doing well. That we need that highlight because your highlight pretty much, there's no business in my highlight at the age of 35.
That's a good point. Issy. Cool. Oh my word. Well, what a wonderful goal. Well, the wall didn't do its job, and Issy Nakajima.
So, plus there's no second division to be relegated. So, you know, so I'm kind of going back to my story. So yeah, Canada is, so we're getting that system, right? So we can, for guys to come back. But then there's the next system where only the players' union can establish something like this, where we have everybody, we send out a newsletter. All right, everyone meet here. Everybody's gonna, I don't know. That's one of the biggest event that I want to kind of create with this. And I've mentioned to the guys before. So, we'll see, man. I think there's a lot of good things that will come out of the players' union.